Hi, I'm Renelle Golden, and you're listening to the Movie Making Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Atlas VPN.
Did you know we carry around one of the most vulnerable computers in our pocket? Our cell phones store our bank info, passwords, and other personal data. That's why you need a good VPN to protect you wherever you are. Atlas VPN offers next-generation encryption to hide your virtual location on your phone, making it easy to protect you no matter where you are. Podcast listeners can take advantage of Atlas VPN's biggest sale of the year. Get 86% off 2 years of Atlas VPN, plus a free additional 6 months. Head on over to get.atlasvpn.com/moviemakingpod. That's get.atlasvpn.com/moviemakingpod. With Atlas VPN, you can rest assured your information will always stay private and secure.
Everybody. Today we are here with Steve Martin, filmmaker and the owner of a new studio, Green Slate Studios. How are you doing, Steve? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Renelle. Thanks for having me.
I am thrilled to have you here. I've been taking a look at your studio. It's a very interesting concept that I think indie filmmakers are going to really find very valuable for their time and money in producing their work. Tell me a little bit about how the studio got started, what inspired you to open this?
Well, sure. The studio was actually an outcome of a bad economy, of all things. Back in 2010, we owned the commercial building that our production company is in, and we had some tenants in some of the spaces. And let's just say that the tenant was underperforming.
Yes.
And which is very polite for his checks bounced. And so we invited them to find another place for their business, and immediately called our real estate guy and said, hey, we need to get a new tenant in this 2,000 square foot building. And he's pretty much stopped me cold in my tracks and said, it's a really bad time to be looking for a tenant in the middle of a recession. Are you sure that you can't use the space for your own purposes?
Oh, wow.
And I said, no, I really can't use it. Hey, wait a minute, maybe I can. And I started thinking about it, and we decided to take 2,000 square feet of office space and convert it into a green screen studio so that we could use it to produce things in. We were renting other people's studios and things like that. And so when everybody else was zigging in the economy, we decided to zag and invested, about $100,000 in a build out, and the rest, as they say, is history. It's been around for 13 years now.
Oh, seriously, that's very cool. And you know what? I'm slow to the what do you call it? The race or something, because I'm just learning about this technology. Mm-hmm. And I was very excited. I've always known about green screen, and I have done it in certain things. You need a floating object or something through your film. You're going to put on a green suit or use a green screen. But what made you do green screen?
Well, green screen, like you said, has been around for quite some time. There's nothing new about green screen. But in the market that we were serving at the time, which was mostly the corporate and the broadcast and commercial work, in order to do it well, you really had to spend quite a bit of money. And we just asked ourselves a question: what if we could come up with a smaller space? I mean, the whole facility is 2,000 square feet, including a green room and some office space and a kitchen and bathrooms and stuff like that. A small stage where you could do 3 to 5 or 7 people on a set and then pull it off and not spend an arm and a leg. And that was really the unique selling proposition, for lack of a better word, to build out the studio.
Oh, wow.
Is just to make it a good, affordable place, but don't make it look like it's a dump. So I like to think about Green Slate as kind of like the Courtyard Marriott of hotels. It's a mid-level facility in terms of size and scope.
Right.
It's decorated and appointed nicely, but it's not opulent. And at less than $500 a day to rent the whole studio space, it's very affordable.
It does the trick. It serves its purpose. So people that use this service, this fascinates me because I truly do not know the answer. Mm-hmm. How is it different in preparing to shoot something green screen than in actually, filming a traditional way with the full set and all that? Now, how does that process work?
Well, it's really mostly about pre-production. This is going back, we kind of, the tools for filmmaking have gotten so easy and so inexpensive. People just go out and shoot willy-nilly. And when you're shooting on green screen, you really need to think through to use Stephen Covey's words, begin with the end in mind. You have to start at the end and work backwards. A lot of people, when they see something that doesn't look real or quite natural on green screen or in production in general, they think, is that green screen? It doesn't quite look right. They don't know what the technical problem is. But unfortunately, with green screen, what a lot of people think about is, you just have to get a good, even lighting on the green screen, and then everything else is magic. And nothing could be further from the truth.
I would think it would be orientation, like, this has to be this size next to someone and, to make it very believable.
Yeah, it's orientation, it's size, scope, it's angle of attack of the camera. It is the direction of the lighting on the key. So if the shadows are falling in one way in the background and they're falling another way on the subject, the average Joe might not understand what's wrong, but they know something's wrong.
Right.
And so the key to green screen is really thinking through. A lot of times people don't even think about the background until after they've shot the foreground, which is just kind of a really dumb way to do things.
Yeah,
but
I would think it would be more important to get that background kind of solidified before you shoot. But
absolutely.
Even I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but your instinct is right. You have to know what the background is so that you can light and compose the shot for the foreground, the talent, if you will, so that it looks believable and it looks real. It's not rocket scientists needed to pull this off, but it's a simple process of thinking it through. Now, we also have what we call previs on the set available so that you can actually do real-time compositing. So you're not just shooting on a green screen wall and then hope in post that it comes together.
That was the question I was going to ask. Do we have a tech on set you can actually see what you're going to see, at least a preview of it? Now that makes great sense.
Yeah, well, not only just a preview, but you can actually do a full res composite in real time. So we have two levels of visualizing the final thing. One is previs, which is kind of like a low res, just kind of a comp, just to kind of get a sense of it, make sure that, the eye line's right, make sure that, the size and scale's right, make sure, everything is adding up the way it should be, so that when you get to post, you're not, oh my God, how am I going to make this work?
Yeah.
But we also have a full AK Ultimate system in there, which is a real-time broadcast high-end film keyer. That you can basically record the output and you're done. You've composited it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And now you just have standard editorial like you would on any other film project.
Oh my God, that's really cool. I did not know that. Have you seen the technology change over the last decade or so? Has there been a lot of changes?
Yeah, radically. Especially in the final real-time keying, the Ultimate system is super high-end. The cost of that used to be astronomical, in the six-figure range. So you're spending $100,000 for this hardware and software, and they just got bought out by Blackmagic about 2-3 years ago, and now that price is still expensive. All in, you're about $15,000, so it's not small.
That's way better than $100,000.
Exactly, and so it's making that kind of quality really quite possible.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about how you ended up in filmmaking.
Well, like I said, I kind of fell into this a little bit backwards. I was a student at UCF in the early 80s, and I was a computer science major and loved the tech and everything, but it was so clumsy back then that I was bored because I just couldn't. The technology isn't able to go as fast as most students could go at the time. Right. So I blew that off and I went into marketing. And I thought, okay, I'll be a marketing major. I'll go work for like IBM or Chrysler or Microsoft or one of the big tech companies.
Wherever you could go, right?
Yep. And just before I graduated, I got involved in student government and took a job as the director of public relations for student government at UCF, which is at the time about 20,000 students, so kind of a mid-sized university in the U.S. And the president walked in one day and said, hey, how about you make some PSAs from a student perspective, not a university perspective? And he said, do you think you can do that? I said, yeah, I can do that. And he walked out of my office and I thought, how am I going to do that?
Right.
And so I connected with some students down in, at the time they called it instructional resources before it became a true film program at UCF.
Right.
And talked to a professor there. And I said, hey, who are the 4 best seniors getting ready to graduate who would like to work on this project? And he connected me with 4 television students at the time that, like I said, it wasn't a film program. And those guys took me by the hand. And to this day, one of those guys is still one of my very best friends and just retired from production.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Did you
so I kind of fell into it.
Through the years? Have you guys
I worked on and off. We worked at different organizations, but he and I stayed close and stayed friends the whole time.
I love it.
But I graduated with my degree in marketing. And I thought, oh my God, I've now figured out what I want to do. How am I going to do this? And so I just started my own company, and I started doing corporate and broadcast work. And
how did you break into that then? Once you started your own company, you just start knocking on doors and
badly.
Okay.
I mean, you're a newbie. I don't know what I didn't know. So I made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of work that I don't ever want to kind of do again, just really low end, really grinding kind of work. But I got my chops.
Yeah, you sounded like you were fearless. You were ready to open those doors.
When you're 23 years old, you think you can take on the world,
Yeah.
And so I did, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I got a couple of good breaks, and mostly we just got really good people around us. We were able to hire a few key people, and we're still very small. We only got 5 full-time employees.
5 is a good number.
It's a good number.
So what was your first experience working with green screen then?
We had done it, we had a portable green screen, that you just like a piece of spongy fabric that you can stretch out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we did a series of commercials for the public library, the Orlando Public Library, back in the mid 90s, early 90s. Okay. And it came out really, really well. And we thought, hey, this is really cool. So I kind of had the seed planted in my mind. And so we did a few more here and there. And it was just a great way of bringing a location to a place without having to bring a whole crew to a location.
Yes. Yeah.
So you bring the mountain to Muhammad kind of approach. And it just becomes a very efficient way to produce things if you can do it properly and it doesn't look fake, which is the trick.
Yeah. It's not like the newscast, right? This has to be like interactive, like you're actually there.
Right.
So what's some advice for people that are going to, plan okay, I need to save money. I'm going to green screen this. How can the filmmaker prepare? Obviously it's in pre-production, but even in budgeting it in, is it the same as when, okay, I'm going to be with scene 2, 5, and, 9 on set. I've got this, and this to budget. How does that differ? Just from that very basic, development, pre-production point of view, this much of the film is going to be green screened. How can a filmmaker make sure that they're planning for that appropriately, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask in a very long way. But
it's really not that much different than traditional filmmaking, except that you're not taking your crew and cast to a physical hard location. You're taking it to a green screen. So you have to do all of your pre-production, your planning. What's this shot going to look like? How, you got to block it. You got to think it through. So there's not that much difference. The only thing that I would add in green screen is don't think that everything has to be virtual. Green screen is best when there are some practical elements in the shot for the actor to physically interact with.
So like a chair or a table or a prop in their hands kind of things?
Yep.
Is there
or something that they pick up, off of a table. The table might be virtual, but there is a green apple box that they pick it up off of to simulate the table. So there's a cup of coffee there on a green box, and you pick it up off the green box, and it looks like it's on the table or the counter or something like that.
Does the team change with green screening? So your crew, would you have some different elements crew wise?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I mean, you still have a DP, you still got a gaffer, you still have talent coordination, you still have,
all your basics,
grips and audio.
So for set, you would work with, probably you'd need a set designer that has some experience in that. And is there a limit to how many props you can have within your scene? Like, could you have a full, I don't know, living room set?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you can do anything you want as long as you got the physical space to pull it off.
Right.
Like in the case of our studio, it's I can't remember the dimensions of the stage, but it's like 26 by 20 or something like that. So it's a pretty good size space, but there is a limit as to what you can put in there and what you can do.
Right.
And the other thing you have to think about if you're going to do green screen is you have to decide if it's going to be static or if it's going to have camera movement. So if it's static, it's pretty easy. The camera never moves and people move around in it. That's not terribly dynamic, but for some projects it may work.
So if you're walking down like a street, not very far, but like all the elements around you are moving, what are the considerations for something like that?
Sure, you have to decide how that background plate is going to be generated. So again, you go back to the camera. Is the camera moving and following the subject, or is the camera stationary and static? If the camera is stationary and static, then you can take a camera. Let's say I want to do something on New York City.
Yeah.
I can hire a camera operator in New York from right here in Florida to shoot me that video plate.
Yeah.
And then bring that in there into the studio and then do the compositing right there and have our guy walking. Now, you've got to be careful that the space that our hero is walking on stage doesn't walk through a lamppost or through crossing traffic or something like that, right?
Right.
But you can do that. The other way is to try to be a little bit more realistic in terms of how filmmaking is often done, where the camera is not static. So where the camera moves around, because if the camera is moving around and the background has to move in unison, has to be in parallax, as they say, right? So if the camera goes up, the background's got to go down. If the camera goes down, the background's kind of got to come up to stay in sync. Well, you're on green screen, so there's no background there. So that's where virtual production comes in. And we've seen this a lot with like the Mandalorian series, for example. Yes. And that's the most famous example that everybody kind of thinks about.
Which is an outstanding example.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they do that in like in an LED volume wall, right? Where the LED screens go from floor to ceiling and it's 20 feet high and they wrap around, a big, huge set, right?
Is that the biggest difference between a more traditional green screen set and the LED?
It used to be.
Ah, okay.
We have actually come up with a method to actually bring real-time moving compositing using Unreal Engine, which is the exact same software that they use for The Mandalorian.
Oh, wow.
Even into our small green screen space. So the camera is moving and it is reacting to the background in real time. And then we have the added ability, because we don't have to worry about LED walls. I don't think there's any that I know of in the Southeast. There's one experimental one, I think, in LA right now, where they have an LED floor.
Oh, wow.
Where you can actually walk on it. Well, we actually have a green screen floor that you can actually get a shot of the floor.
Oh, wow.
We just shot a music video in here recently, and it's going to be released, I think, in about 2 weeks for a band called Leave On. And it's a really cute little love story piece where this couple meets in high school dance, like in the 50s or 60s. Aww. And it's a traditional high school gym set. And the whole thing was shot in our studio on green screen. And when you see it,
floor was
even the floor.
I love that.
Even the floor was the gym floor. There's one scene where the hero goes up to the heroine, takes her by the hand, and the camera looks down at their hands holding, and you see the gym floor as they walk through the shot, and it is just stunningly amazing.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. That's very cool.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, I think. Well, today recording. So cool. I'm not sure when you're going to release this, Renelle, but it'll be late September. I should say that.
That's awesome. I'll be looking for it. So tell me a little bit about the Florida film market and what you're doing to try to, keep our incentives growing, bring more film productions to Florida. I'd love to hear a little bit about your involvement in that.
Well, I serve on the marketing committee for Film Florida, which is the executive director is John Lux. For those of you who are in Florida, you probably already know who he is. And they do a really, really good job. And we just play a little part. We try to help on the marketing side. We have produced some of the location reels for each county. Each county has its own location reel. So if you're thinking about shooting in Pinellas County, they got a location reel. If you want to shoot in Lee County, they have a location reel that highlights some of their locations for films and television and so forth and so on. We've helped produce some of those and edit some of those for them. Okay. And that's a piece that we've done. But there's a lot of just behind the scenes stuff of just getting the word out, using social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, to just talk about how we can get things done. Sometimes it's a letter writing campaign, petition signing,
right,
to get the folks in Tallahassee to pay close attention that for every dollar that is spent in Florida on film, it's got like a $20 return in everything from local crew to restaurants to hotels to car rentals, equipment rentals, and it's just a huge investment opportunity, and it doesn't cost very much.
Yeah. I'm always telling people the one thing that I love about Florida versus other locations is we have some really solid, skilled crew here. And the fact is, we're a right to work state. Our rates are decent. They're fair. And sometimes we're able to save on our budget by filming in Florida versus filming somewhere else where, you have to use a certain union or you have to do other particular things, and your cost per day for that one crew member can, easily triple. So I'm always, I
totally agree.
Filming here.
I mean, I totally agree. I think that the talent, the talent, and is fantastic in this area, and we're seeing more and more and more of it. Like I said, since we've opened up the studio, and there's a lot of small independent films and passion projects and music videos that are being shot here in our studio that we're just renting the space to them. We're just giving them a place to shoot. It's inspired us to do things like the recent short that we just produced, Inspiration to Mars. It's giving people an opportunity, to really come across and tell their story.
Yeah.
And the Inspiration to Mars piece was entirely shot on green screen. We partnered with a company called TerraSynth that created and designed all the backgrounds and the Mars set and the rockets and the spaceport and all these things. And but for me, it was a personal inspiration project because the whole reason for doing that film was conversations that I've had with my wife. She's an engineer.
Oh, cool.
And the lack of women in STEM fields. And it's not because they can't, it's just because they're not encouraged to do so in many cases.
Right.
So Inspiration to Mars was a not so subtle nod towards letting girls, think, hey, it's okay.
Take rocket ships for a ride.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And so I named the main character in this little fictional 22nd century film after my wife.
Oh, that's cool. That's so sweet. Yeah. I love that. I love it. Oh, so what advice would you give a filmmaker entering this industry and considering green screen?
Well, in terms of advice, the biggest advice is just do it. Just do it. True. Figure out how to make it happen. Figure out whatever your passion of your story is. Figure out how to tell it. As far as Green Slate and what we do with the green screen, it's just a tool. And we have these monthly workshops in the studio called Production Crossroads, where we bring in experts from every field. The one coming up here in October, I think, is going to be on casting talent. So we're going to bring in a casting director, and we're going to bring in an actor. We are going to bring in a director, so that people who maybe not have worked with talent, maybe they're doing corporate stuff and the first time they want to hire talent, and they don't know how to direct talent, and they don't know how to choose talent.
Which is
we'll have exactly. We'll have a panel discussion, and we invite people to come. It's absolutely free. We pay for the food, we pay for the drinks, we pay for everything. We just want people to show up, and we've done one on Da Vinci Resolve. We did one on the business of production. We did one on how to green screen is coming up in 2 weeks. So we're going to be talking about specifically how to green screen.
I probably need to go to that one. I love that.
We'd love to have you.
So how can people find you and learn more about your studio?
GreenSlateStudios.com is the best place to go. And we also have a pretty good presence on Facebook. Again, Green Slate Studios on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the three places that they can go check it out. There's pictures, there's videos, there's examples, there's how-tos. There's an entire virtual, what's it called? A virtual tour that you can take of the studio facility at greenslatestudios.com.
Very cool. What are some things that you have upcoming or you're hoping to do in the future?
The big thing is we are now in pre-production for Mi Cuba. That is really a passion project of mine. My family came from Cuba, escaped from communism in 1959 and 1960. And it's a place that I've never been. Wow. I only know Mi Cuba through
family,
stories and family and friends and things like that. And so that's kind of my passion project, basically to tell my parents' story of starting, coming with the clothes on your back in a suitcase and starting over. And,
are you doing it as a documentary or?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yep, it's a documentary, and I'm in the gathering of the story stage right now, nice. And then I'm going to weave a narrative through the content once I've captured. I've had a pretty good idea in my head of where it's going, but it's pretty exciting, and we will be using the virtual technology again. We're already building the set inside of Unreal Engine, which is the platform by which the set is built, including some video that I'm hoping to source directly from Cuba. And so it'll be in the windows of the set. So as you look through the windows, you'll see, the island look in the background through the windows.
That is really neat. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I love that. So are there any things you have coming up for the studio that you're hoping to achieve? It sounds like you guys are already like super busy, so there might not be, but
yeah, it's actually pretty busy. The studio is booked on average about 15 days out of every month, and only about a quarter of that is our projects. The rest of it is other people's projects. People rent it all the time for day rates, week rates, couple of days here. It just depends on what they're doing. We've got one gentleman who's probably in here every month, and he's doing like talent demo
nice.
For actors, and
that's
so it just depends on what they want to do. So it's really a functional place.
I love that. If somebody is going to like rent your studio, it would probably be advantageous for them to work hand in hand with your existing crew because they know what goes into it. But can somebody just come in and do their own thing or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They can just rent the studio. They can ask us for any help that they need, or they can just rent the studio. We make that completely available to them. I mean, a lot of times a production company, they have their own gear, they have their own people, they have their own thing, and they just want to come in and just use the facility, and that's absolutely okay. Other people have us do turnkey production. No, I have this idea and I want to direct it, but I want you to cover everything below the line. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you want, or anywhere in between.
I love it. Okay.
So everything is customized to meet the filmmaker. The whole point of Green Slate is to be a resource for filmmakers and producers to tell their stories, and we'll give them as much or as little help as they want.
I love that. That's very, very cool. Well, before I go to my final 5 for 5 goofy questions that I ask everyone, is there anything else you would like to share?
We're located right here in Central Florida, in the heart of Orlando. It's easy to get here. Just if you're in Orlando, you're somewhere else, and you just want to come by and say hi, we would love visitors. We love visitors to come by. Let us know that you're coming, and we'll let you know if there's a production going on and if there's a chance of getting you on set just to see it, if it's not interrupting the producer's schedule or something like that, so you can see what's going on, or just come see it empty and take a walk-through tour. And and if we can be of a resource for any filmmaker, that is our goal.
I love it. That is an awesome, awesome goal. And, that's the whole purpose. We rise by lifting others. So I just love that. Okay, well, I would love to wrap this up with my traditional 5 for 5.
Can't wait.
Questions. People will know a little bit more about you when we're done. So when you're ready, I'm going to start.
Fire away. I hope I'm ready.
There'll be a test. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Okay. The first question is literally, what is your favorite food?
Arroz con pollo.
Okay. What's that?
That is chicken and rice my mother's recipe. It's made with yellow saffron rice, and you can put in onions and olives and peas and carrots along with chicken.
Yeah.
And it is my absolute favorite, and I eat way too much of it.
Do you make your wife cook that now?
No, I cook it for her. My mom showed me.
That's good. I like that. It's even better.
Yes,
okay.
Arroz con pollo.
How do you say it?
Arroz con pollo.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for it because I'll mess it up. Okay. Next question. What is something that in life, not film related, inspires you or motivates you?
You know, I've got a nephew right now, and it's kind of in the film business because he is a film student up at FSU right now.
Oh, nice.
And he's a perfect example. I get really inspired when I see young people doing amazing things at a very young age where they either know what they want to do or they're so passionate about working at something. My son is a college student athlete. And I see the work that he and all these kids put in. They're not kids; they're young men now. But I just love watching. I think young people get a really bad rap, you know, and I think we too often don't recognize that there are a lot of really, really smart, dedicated, motivated, hardworking young people who are pursuing their passion. And few things get me more excited than seeing an example of that.
I love that. That's beautiful. Okay. What is number 3? What is something you have always dreamed of doing, but you haven't done yet that's not film related?
Can I tell you something that I've always wanted to do and I'm just now starting to do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Does that fill?
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was in middle school, I wanted to play the drums, and my dad would absolutely not let me do it because he said it made too much noise. And no amount of convincing him that it had a rubber practice pad and it was actually the quietest thing I could bring home. Yeah. He wasn't convinced. He didn't believe me, and he said no. And my youngest son, the same one who is a student athlete now in college, became a drummer and loves drumming. And he is now teaching me to play the drums. And
oh my God, what a cool thing to do together.
Yep.
I love that. My 22-year-old is my writing partner for most things that we write. And I just love when our children, like, I don't know, just when they interact and they share their gifts with us. Yep. It's too cool.
It's really fun. I'm having a blast playing with him.
That's cool.
He'll come home on a Sunday afternoon sometimes, and we'll just pop an iPod or a phone onto the electronic kit, and we'll play it. We'll take turns playing different songs along with the drum kit and the music, and it's just we'll spend hours up there.
Maybe y'all can start a band.
Just drummers only.
Drummers only, and maybe mom can sing, or
the Partridge Family or something, right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. All right. A good segue to question number 4. What is your favorite song to sing at the top of your lungs when you're driving in the car?
Oh my gosh, the favorite song. I don't know that I have a favorite song. I like so many different songs. I'm a big Earth, Wind, and Fire fan.
Okay.
And the song Fantasy is a favorite of mine. I really like that. Awesome. But God, there's just so many. I'll go from Earth, Wind, and Fire to Tom Petty to ZZ Top to Toby Keith, and I like it all.
Wow. Okay. All good music, all of it, for real. Okay. Last question. And this one I find is really hard for people in our industry. But what's your favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my God! You knew right off the top of your head. That is outstanding.
I won't ever use that on any of those password hints because I tell everybody in the world that Shawshank Redemption is probably one of the best movies I've ever seen anywhere.
Oh, wow.
The way Tim Robbins plays that character and is supported by, oh my God, I just forgot his name.
I can see him in my head. What's his name?
I can't remember his name now.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So what about that movie makes it your favorite?
I just love the fact that it is full on redemption. The guy gets accused of doing something that he didn't do. He still feels guilty because he thinks he's responsible for it because he drove his wife away by focusing too much on work. So even though he didn't pull the trigger and didn't kill her, he feels responsible for it. So he's got this dichotomy thing going on in his head while he's in prison, that he deserves to be there for being a crappy husband. But he didn't actually kill her. And then the fact that he sets up the warden and everybody to get away with, to not get away with their corruption. And in the end, it's just an amazing movie. And it's Morgan Freeman. I can't believe I forgot his name for half a second. But him
I can see him in my head. I forgot too, and I do picture him in my head.
It's just an amazing movie, and I love it. If it's on and I'm not in the middle of something, that's what I'm watching.
I love it. Well, you have been outstanding. Anybody that wants to find you, it's greenslatestudios.com.
That is right. That's where they can find us.
All right. And I thank you for spending time with me today. And you guys come back anytime.
Thank you, Renelle. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Movie Making with Renelle Golden is brought to you by Samira Entertainment, supporting indie films and the filmmakers who create them. Stop by their website to learn more, www.samiraentertainment.com. That's www.samiraentertainment.com. You've been listening to Movie Making with Renelle Golden. Be sure to come back for our next episode where we bring you the people who make movies you love. Got a topic about filmmaking you want to hear on our podcast? Send us an email at moviemakingpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.